Hello.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
That's right. How are you?
I'm doing very well now that you're here. Oh, dude. This is the third one I've done, and I still can't help but get super giddy about it. This is amazing.
That's awesome.
How are you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. No, this is fun. I would have never thought. Here we are, many years later, talking MagiQuest, talking Lokari.
I see you've got a. I don't want to spoil it because I think you might have something planned there with that little deck of cards over there. Maybe I don't know, but
this old thing.
Old thing? Maybe.
Yeah, I thought we could play. Who knows? We'll see.
But
yeah.
All right, so let me get.
You have a deck of cards nearby?
I do not. I don't think so. No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Just in case. All right, we'll use mine. That's fine.
All right. Well, what have you been up to since 2010 when MagiQuest Online came out?
Oh my gosh, is it really 2010? I guess you're right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been similar. Kind of. Actually, it's funny. It's like the short story is very similar things in general. Similar themes, just different projects. But at that time, I was an actor and a magician, and I still am an actor and a magician, and I do more magic and illusion design work these days than I do acting. So I'm usually more behind the camera than I am in front of it, but I still perform as a magician. So I'm still on stage doing live magic and that type of thing. And so I've been doing some magic consulting for some TV shows and for theater. And still occasionally perform, but that's a lot of what I've been up to.
Consulting, what's that like?
Yeah, it can be a lot of things. So yeah, it's like illusion design, magic consulting. It's like basically, my tagline is elegant solutions for impossible situations, right? So basically that means like for theater, it makes a little bit more sense, right? If there's a play that wants a moment of magic or a moment of illusion in it, if someone disappears from one side of the stage, reappears on another, I help design that, right? I work with the set designer, the lighting designer, the actors to help, make that illusion real on stage, right? But obviously on TV, it's a little different because, everyone kind of assumes it's done through CGI or special effects or whatever. So it's not like we have to pull off an actual magic trick or an actual illusion. So when I consult for TV shows, it's like, okay, like for example, there's one I'm working on right now where there's a kid who's, one of the characters is a kid who's a big magic nerd. He's really into magic, right? So I work with the writers to talk about like what tricks he'd be into, what things he'd be learning, sort of like filling out the story, filling out, the character development, what he's into. And then I'm teaching the actor how to do some of the tricks. So you see a kid practice a coin trick, for example, or you see him practice a card trick in the mirror, and I'm working with him to make that look real, to make it look like he's actually a magic nerd that has been doing this for years instead of just an actor who got to set the week before. That's my job.
That's a really interesting thing. I wouldn't think that's a thing, a consultant for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's it's very much ad hoc, right? So it's usually sort of the work I find for that is like with previous collaborators, right? So for example, I'm actually working on a show right now on Showtime called Let the Right One In. And so this is like it's a TV series based on the older movie called Let the Right One In. That was originally a Swedish movie and then an American movie. Anyway, it just came out on Showtime. I think it's like episode 4 right now. But it's about vampires and it's super fun. But one of the kids is into magic. That was kind of the example I was thinking of just now. So there's magic in that, and there's actually a through line of the whole plot of him being into magic, and it kind of comes up in their relationships with the characters and stuff. And then I also make an appearance on episode 4 in front of the camera. I play a part called Brett the Magician, credited as Brett the Magician. So it's good that I actually got that part. If it went to someone else, I'd be very mad. But yeah, I show up. I do a couple of tricks on that show too.
That's cool because I found your YouTube channel and there's like an acting reel, and I can't. I should have went back and looked at the show, but you played a magician on a show. And I thought that was just amazing to see.
Yeah, I've done it a couple times. Every now and then, obviously, when TV shows are casting for actual magicians that have to do something like live, obviously I go up for those roles. So yeah, on USA, there was an old show called Sirens, which is a comedy. I was a magician on that. I was a magician on Let the Right One In. There's some other small like music videos, movies. I've done a couple little, sometimes hand doubling, right? So if some character needs to be able to pull off a really cool piece of sleight of hand, maybe it's my hand, so that kind of thing.
That's just great. There's just so much stuff like in the film world and all that you wouldn't think about, like magic consultant and hand doubles. Like,
Yeah,
that's wild.
it's fun. It's fun. I mean, that's like some of the work. That's kind of why I got the gig for MagiQuest, right? So, like the pitch that my agent and I were making at the time was, hey, this guy's actually, a magician, so he can do some effects, some sleight of hand, so, for a character with magical powers, this might work out. So that's how we got that gig.
So that was like on the resume that you can actually perform.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. Because it took me a long time to recognize what you were doing in those videos, because there is multiple instances where you do little tricks. Like, I still don't know how you do the thing with the wand. Like, I could see the coin trick where you go and it disappears.
Right.
But the wand thing, and then you just pull it out. I still don't know how you do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I remember seeing it in some of the forums. Like, I think some of the fans like noticed that it was actually like practical. It was a sleight of hand piece. It wasn't a CGI thing. Of course, we added the sparkles and stuff. But the idea that you can make it appear and disappear, and you can imagine it's a little bit bigger. It's a bigger wand. It kind of works, but you can actually make it. You get the idea. So yeah.
All right, now I'm stumped because you have your sleeves rolled up. So I don't.
Nothing up the sleeve. That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
I might have an idea, but I almost. All right.
Yeah. Right. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
But that's just such an interesting thing. Like that just makes your character stand out. That he does little stuff like that, and I don't. It's weird. It's still kind of weird to me to this day how I'm so into this thing that was, I don't mean to downplay it in any way, but just this thing that's like looked at as like a kid's attraction, like, but I grew up with it. I've been playing it since like 2007, so it's been such a big part of my life. And like you wouldn't think people would get attached so like heavily to something like this, but I don't know, it just the people that were behind it did such an amazing job with these characters, and they made them so like stand out individually from one another. Like, I mean, there are a couple characters that have kind of like the same aesthetic and vibe, but like everybody stands out on their own and does something different. And Lokari especially is like one of the coolest characters that was ever in the game. So,
well, I appreciate
that.
Help it.
I can't help it.
I appreciate that. It was super fun. It was super fun to film, and like, I got to work with a couple of the other actors, although mostly we're sort of, in our own little worlds. But but yeah, I mean, I had so much fun, and like, I gotta say, I agree with you. I think that the folks who developed this game, both in the interactivity, right, at the time, that it was, it's like now it's like we think, okay, it's kind of everywhere, but at the time it was not, and so it was pretty cutting edge. And then also just the art direction. I remember showing up on set, and there's a couple shots that are green screen, right? There's a couple things that they put in after, but a lot of my when I'm sort of at my lab, when I'm in my lab,
that was a full set.
That was all built out.
Yeah.
That was all built out, and the art direction was beautiful. I mean, that whole set, all the props, everything was like, top notch. So they did a great job.
A lot of it is like there's some like green screen, blue screen work, but especially with the Quest Master, I don't know if you've seen his videos, but that set is beautiful. Just all the stuff that's in it, all the little details and like bottles and stuff on the desk and on the bookcase, and even yours is nuts. Like just the amount of attention to detail and all that little stuff that they got and put on set is it's amazing.
Yeah,
I wish the new
agree.
stuff did that, but
Yeah, right. Yeah, people rely on CGI too much. It's all in the models and the props and everything that's handmade, you know. And I wish I could have kept my costume. My costume was awesome. My props were awesome. I wish I could have kept that. They were like really cool.
so you mentioned just a couple seconds ago that you got to meet other actors on set, or
I had a couple cutscenes with you're gonna have to help me out with her name. It's almost like the elven woodland
Willow.
Willow, thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
Willow. Yes, and Willow and I were on set together. So we got a few scenes together. There was a couple scenes where obviously I'm sort of like handing off, you know, the protagonist, you, the player, to Willow, and so we were on set together a few times. We jumped through portals a few times together, that kind of thing. So I think we had one day on set together. But otherwise, no, it was all the other characters I just, you know, pieced together from the scripts.
Because it's just interesting to see who met each other, because a lot of characters do go hand in hand, and especially Lokari and Willow, because there's not really a time where you are physically like in the same space with each other.
Right.
There's only one time that happens with two characters, but so well, I guess it works out because I assumed like y'all met each other, but I just don't know. But
Yeah. That was Willow was really the only one I met in costume. I think maybe backstage I met a couple other folks that were transitioning to their days on set, but you know, playing together, Willow and I were the only ones that actually played together live.
so can you remember what year you filmed? I'm guessing it was like 2009, 2010-ish.
I think it was 2009.
Okay.
I think it was 2009, and you know, I gotta say that, like, you know, this is usually, especially when you're entering a project, you know, at that late stage, you know, as an actor, when you get on the project, like most of the work is done. It's like show up and work, right? So 2009, it's a really quick process. So from auditioning for it to getting booked and then flying out to the studio, filming, I think it was 3 days of filming, all together, and you know, long days. But you know, everything is pretty much ready to go, and you just have to kind of hit the ground running and sort of learn as you go as to, okay, what world am I in? You know, what are the objectives? What are the games? What do I need to tell the player to make sure that this is successful, right? Because you have the character that you're playing, but then also there's a lot of information, there's a lot of exposition, and like that has to be super clear. Because if that's not clear, then the game doesn't function. So it's both like representing a character, but then also making sure that, you know, you're delivering the information to keep the story going.
And you filmed, I'm guessing, in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, filmed in St. Louis. Yeah.
That's where it all went down. Because there's still some people that I've talked to that are still in St. Louis. Where are you based out of now? Because you said
I'm in LA.
You're in LA. Dang.
Yeah, so I was actually in Chicago at the time. So I was a Chicago-based actor, and for the past 4 years I've been in LA.
Whew. Must be some good business over there if you live in LA.
Yeah.
Good lord, man.
Yeah. A lot going on out here.
Good for you. But yeah, it was St. Louis. So how, like, what connections and like who did you get the job from? Like, who did you, I'm guessing like through Pickett Productions and all that?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. So Pickett Productions. So the way it worked with this, so the way it worked with this gig is that Pickett Productions put out like a call for actors to submissions, right? And Chicago is sort of the next closest, biggest hub, right? You can hire locally sometimes if you're in smaller markets, like so St. Louis is a bit of a smaller market, but usually it's like you're putting in calls from the next biggest location, which would be Chicago for St. Louis. And so, you know, call for actors, that means they're just probably getting dozens and dozens of submissions, maybe even hundreds if it's a big enough project, right? And so, and this is because of the medium that we're working with like, you know, with narrative, with video game, it's like a non-union, it's sort of its own project, right? So they are looking for, you know, for actors that, you know, both can play characters and also can do screen work. and teleprompter work. So, what was like probably one of the, you know, the reason why we could do so much in such a short amount of time, because it's, again, just a couple days of work, is, I had the scripts ahead of time so I could review them, I can work on them, but there's a lot of dialogue. So there isn't really an expectation, especially when you show up on set, then you get all the rewrites, right? So that morning you're in the makeup chair, they're putting I had hair extensions that wasn't my actual hair, right? They're gluing in hair extensions.
I was going to ask you about that.
I wish it was pretty rad. I wish that was my actual hair. That was not my actual hair. They glued in these hair extensions into my head, but I thought it was awesome. I really liked the look. So, but anyway, it's like you're in the makeup chair, they're gluing in hair extensions, and you've got like a big stack of papers in front of you that are all the rewrites to the scripts, because right up until the day they're doing rewrites, they're changing things, because again, it's like you change one node in the story, it changes all the other transitions, it changes all the other, the intros, the outros of scenes, the way the story is set up. So, you're reviewing that, but of course, there is no expectation you'll be able to memorize everything and be off book as you go into camera, because it's just too quick. So we use a teleprompter, and all those shots, the teleprompter is basically, this mirror up against the camera. So it's like I'm looking at the camera, but I'm actually reading the lines on a teleprompter, just like in a newscast. So all that, all those scenes, you're basically, it's like I had knowledge of the scene and I had played with the lines, but the final edits, the final cuts, all the final lines are actually just there in front of me on a teleprompter. So then it's just going, it's like you're acting, you're doing the tricks, you're reading the teleprompter, it's all those things all at once.
And I actually have another question, because I was wondering, because there's a lot of those that go on for a long time, and they're those camera changes. Were those all one take, or are those cuts every time the camera changes, or would you actually just change camera and like keep going?
Yeah, good question. So it's a combination of both, right? So we had multiple cameras going, and so you have like almost like, I don't remember if we had 2 or 3 cameras usually. When you're on like a sitcom set, it's like a 3-camera operation, right? You have got 3 cameras going simultaneously, and it's sort of like you're doing a play, but you have to hit 3 different cameras at different times, and there's little lights on the cameras that light up to tell you when they're live, so you know when to play to each one. I don't remember if we had 2 or 3. I think at least 2, but it's like you take each individual scene, and then you're going to camera 1, and then a little light comes on, and then to take to camera 2, right? And so with that you can compile all the edits that you need, and that way there's more, it's more seamless, right? So you do a handful of takes like that, and then you break, and then you move the cameras around, you get the coverage of the other angles, the other shots, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. So are there any like funny on-set stories that you have? Because I don't know if you know who the Duel Master is, like how much you watched through that playlist, but I talked to her a couple days ago, and she told me a story where she almost lost the gig because she couldn't wink, and they wanted her to wink. Really? Yeah. So, any stories like that, if you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things I remember that was really fun was, like you said, it's like trying to incorporate some of the sleight of hand into it, because it's like that we kind of played with, and we kind of made that up on the spot, right? So like the wand, the coin, all that stuff was more or less like, okay, let's just play with this. Let's see what we can do, because, there's a difference between, someone who, a character who literally knows sleight of hand, like playing around with cards and that kind of thing, and someone who's like a wizard, right? Who's going to do actual magical spells. And like there's a crossover, right? So it wouldn't make sense for my character to be this like slick, kind of like, sleight of hand guy, right? He's in the world of actual magic, of wizardry, right? Of spells and incantations and power. And so it's like, what are the things where do those intersect, right? Making something appear and disappear. You want it to look real because that character's actually doing it, but you don't want it to look like I'm doing sleight of hand, because that sleight of hand is not actually, it's not actually based in the world, right? So you have to try to find the middle ground, things that are sleight of hand based that I could do live, but actually, look like the type of magic that's in the story. So anyway, so playing around with that on set was super fun. I also remember the last day was a green screen day, and Willow was there. So Willow and I were doing green screen work and working together. But this is also where they got all the footage where I was going in and out of portals, right? Because that isn't on the main set, that's on the green screen, right? Mm-hmm. And so I remember, we were trying to film as much as possible in the few days that we're working together. And on the last day, I've got literally a plane to catch, right? Like, 1 p.m., I got a plane to catch, I don't know, 10 a.m., something like that. I'm still on set in my full, all of my gear and my hair extensions and everything. We're on the green screen and we're trying to like nail all these pages, get all these pages done. We finally get it done. And I'm thinking, okay, great. I got to sprint home, change, go to the airport. And they're like, wait. We need some what they call B-roll, but basically just footage that you can use at any time, right? It's not a specific line or anything, but it's like things that it's called coverage, things you can insert at any time in case you need it. We just need B-roll of you, going in and out of portals. So the final thing I did, the last 20 minutes on set that I did for this project was just me on a green screen, just running and jumping, just jumping back and forth as fast as I could, jumping in and out of portals, trying to get all these different takes of me like landing from a portal or jumping into a portal. And it was like trying to get all this coverage of jumping in and out of portals before I had to go catch my plane, trying to get as much of that as possible. So we finished that. They hop me back into the makeup chair. I still have all my hair extensions. They don't have time to actually like unglue them in any sort of careful fashion, so they just like cut them out of my hair. And so I go to the airport and like half of my head, it's still like partially glued in hair extensions, like that's where I showed up at the airport. It's like all the, it's like, God. Imagine like Lokari, like, through like a wood chipper. That's what my head looked like.
That's what your head looked like.
That's what I flew home that day with. And then I went home and like, they gave me special shampoo to like pull out all the glue, but that was a crazy day.
Oh man, just stuff like that. I had a little bit of time in theater in high school, and so I did this one role where I was like this really creepy gardener dude, and this was before I could have this.
Sure, right, of course, yeah.
So I had this terrible like glue-on beard, and it took forever to wash off, like the spirit gum stuff, like the glue.
That's right.
Oh,
so
it was
it was, that was my whole head at that.
That was your whole head.
Yep.
That stuff is the worst. I don't know. I'd like to get back into theater. Gwen was Duel Master was actually telling me that I should, because that's how she got started, is like improv troupes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I had a similar story. Where are you based? Where do you live?
I'm in Virginia.
You're in Virginia. Yeah, there's a lot of good, regional theaters, community theaters out there. You could always hop in.
There's one just like 15 minutes away. It's just most places around here do like musicals and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know about me doing musicals. I tried doing one of the musicals in high school, and I was like, not really.
Yeah, that's not your vibe. It's
not really.
It's not mine either. I'm not a song and dance man. That's not my specialty.
And even improv, I like long form stuff. Ooh. I'm terrible at. Just give me a script, dog, and I'll do it. I'll be fine. But improv and musical is not for me.
Well, you can always try doing some auditioning on camera if you're good with scripts. That commercial work and stuff, a lot of that's scripted. So, all it takes is you find that casting office nearby, the one that's the closest city to you, and I gotta tell you, it takes, you gotta throw 100 auditions at the wall before you maybe get one. So it takes a long time, but it's fun.
Might have to. Finally getting back out there on my feet here recently. So
yeah.
I have to try that.
Well, and like, your online following, it's like you're building this, this resource. Who knows? Maybe eventually you make your own, you make your own MagiQuest-esque storyline, and then it gets produced. Who knows?
Anyway, but that's interesting to think, because you said they made you film stuff of jumping through portals. You never actually jump through any portals in the game, so I guess they were still kind of messing around with what was going on, because there is a sequence where Willow comes through a portal. So I guess they were still kind of toying with that idea.
Yeah, and it's a good point, and that's what I mean by coverage, right? It's like they
Yeah.
don't really know yet. They're just like, okay, what if he does have to come in and out of portals? Then we gotta
Then
make
we
sure,
have it.
they're not gonna get me back for that, right? So it's like, let's just make sure we got it. And I gotta say, I bet you maybe only 30% of our footage was actually used in the game. So we filmed hours and hours of footage, right? So you always do a lot more than you need at the end.
And that's the thing with something so niche as this. Like just the thought of that stuff existing, because Jeff he no longer works with Pickett, so he did like an AMA on the subreddit a couple years ago, and we asked him like, is there any way that you could maybe give us little something of like behind the
Yeah.
scenes stuff, and he was like, I no longer have access to that stuff, and even then there's no telling where all that stuff is because it's been
It's been a long time.
way over a decade.
Yeah, I mean,
So
hey, well, good on you for finding everything you could online, for scraping everything together. I thought all that stuff was lost to history. So, you know, it was really cool seeing this resource and seeing, we were such, all these satellite, workers on this. We were almost never in the same room together, and so to pull everything together to see like a cohesive story, to see, I can also tell like there's so many fans and all these people that really appreciate being able to actually, you know, see what they were experiencing, and rather than just like have it in the back of their memories. It's like, oh wow, we actually have like a bit of an archive now.
that's the whole goal. Because I don't know how much you know, and we'll get onto that in a second. But as time goes on, the game's not really going to be a playable thing anymore because MagiQuest Online hasn't been playable since 2013.
Right. Right.
So, and having a disc with stuff on it and on a computer compared to like an in-person attraction, that's a whole different thing. With a disc on your computer, you can just rip the files off of it, and that's how I have your videos and Willow's videos up on my channel. Now, when it comes to the content from a physical location, that's a little bit harder to get to because you have to have people on the inside and do illegitimate things with
Sure.
computers.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, that segues into our next topic.
Yeah.
Well, first off, let me ask: have you ever been to a physical location?
That's a really good question. Let me just silence my notifications here. Have I ever been to a physical location? No, I haven't. No, I never actually got there IRL, right? So all of what I saw was online. Everything I saw was online or in little cutscenes and that type of thing. I never actually played it physically, which is a bummer.
That's another thing I want to ask you about later. Have you heard of what's going on in recent times? Well, first off, when I sent you that playlist, did you watch the very first video?
I did. I did see the first video, yeah.
So you know what happened.
I got the rundown. Yeah, it's the history,
So
the origin story.
it's kind of a weird thing, and I don't know if, because I can't exactly ask said person that did what we think was the final shoot because unfortunately they are no longer with us. But you, Willow, and him are, as far as we know, the last things ever made for what we refer to as Legacy MagiQuest. So, actual release-wise, you and Willow were the last things ever made. So there hasn't been anything new Legacy since 2010.
Wow.
And then after that, it's just been Great Wolf Lodge trying to reboot it
Right.
over and over again. So it's
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild to think of it that way.
you were the last 10 minutes. Great.
Last one's in. Yeah, I actually have to run in a couple minutes too. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll okay. Okay, so you've never been to a physical location. Did you play the online game at all?
I did play the online game a bit, but keep in mind, I'm sort of learning this from, I'm piecing it together, right? So I played it a bit, and it was really rad. But without the background of the live game, I don't think I got the full experience.
All right. All right. So I guess I'll go ahead and talk about this. So, since you were in LA, I don't know how possible this is, because most of the people that I have spoken to or will still are based in St. Louis. So there are still legacy locations out there, just not as many. And do you know about Myrtle Beach?
I do. Yeah.
That was the original location. I think it was the biggest, but it had the most content. Not every location has like the same stuff.
Yeah, they were actually going to fly me out there to be at one of the live events in character, and they never did. And I was bummed.
They never did?
I wanted to be Lokari at Myrtle Beach for a day, but that never happened.
Because they did that on opening day, and then nobody knew about this, but they did it again with the Duel Master and Xavier. And then again, I don't know if you know who those characters are, but literally nobody knew about that. The Mall of America location, when it was open, they had those two characters fly out and were in costume, and I need pictures of it, even though there's probably none anywhere, because nobody knows about that. But so, man, they were gonna fly you out.
Yeah, that would have been fun. That would have been fun.
I guess, actually, yeah, 2010 was when the takeover happened, so that's probably why. I don't know how soon that happened after the MQO stuff came out, but yeah, Great Wolf Lodge probably has a play in why you never actually got to go.
Yeah.
The last standalone location in the world is in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. So I mentioned this to Jeremy or Quivermore. He was the first person I interviewed, and he was like, well, shoot, I want to go to this, because he hasn't been to a location in like 10 years. So he wants to go, and then I talked to the Duel Master about it, and she's interested in going. So, if it would be possible, this is a big ask, because I don't know what your schedule is like nowadays, and if you're interested in because the word Jeremy used was MagiCon. He was like, "Is there a MagiCon that y'all do?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Well, let's make this a thing." So we're still like very much in like there really is no planning that's gone into it. We've talked to the location themselves, and they're up for the idea. It's just we have to talk to the bigger people for this. But would you be interested? And maybe.
Look, I gotta say, anything's possible. I do travel for work a lot, so who knows? Maybe that I can finally get that live appearance that I was promised in Myrtle Beach.
You can meet
you'd have to help me figure out how we get that costume back, though.
That's the thing. I want to know where all those costumes are, because
yeah.
a lot of them were so like ornate and like, dude, everyone in costume. That's never gonna happen, because who knows? They're probably in some warehouse or in the garbage somewhere.
That's right. That's probably true. Yeah. Hey James, I got to run in a minute. Do you want me to show you something real quick? Would that be all right?
Yeah, go for it.
Would that be fair? All right, because like I mentioned, a magician IRL as well, right? Obviously we're here virtually, so it's a little harder to do live magic, but I'll see what I can do. This is the only time I'm going to be totally honest with you, James, here, but this is a regular deck of cards, all right?
Oh, look at you with the cameras here. Look at this.
It's a regular deck of bicycle cards. Do me a favor, just name, you don't even have to see it here in front of you. You can just think of one off the top of your head here. Just pick a card out loud. Name one out loud for me from a regular deck.
King of Spades.
King of Spades. That is absolutely correct. Very well done. No, that's not the... okay, obviously you know the answer, or you know the plot to every card trick, right? You know the plot to every card trick, which is basically you pick a card and then a magician finds it, right? That's kind of the plot, right? I'll try to find it like this. I'll do it a fancy style. It looks like a cut like this. Did you see me cut that King of Spades right to the top of the deck? Does that look familiar to you? But you know what? Even if you miss it the first time, I'll actually give you a close-up view. I'm going to use these two queens here to help me out. I'll leave those on the table here. I'll show you one more time what this looks like. I'll take your card, I'll place it somewhere into the middle of the deck here. I'm going to find your card, but it's going to look a little different. All right, I'll give it a shuffle just like so. You can see the cards are actually going together just like that. And I'm going to use these queens to find your card. All right, I'll use these queens to find your card. But don't blink. It's going to look very similar, just a little bit different. If that was your card, I would have taken credit for it. But it's not. It's not on the bottom. It's not on the top. You can see it's not on the couple bottom, not on the couple top here. Just want to show you on the count of 3 what it looks like if I cause your card to teleport. Watch. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. That's...
And you can see stuck between those
two queens.
Look an awful lot like one card. Right there, that side.
Bravo.
Oh,
Bravo.
Thank you. Just wanted to show off a little bit.
I appreciate that. I'm sure the people will too. That's such a just. I've said it a million times. It's just so cool how they got you for that. That's amazing.
I appreciate it. Well, James, I got to run, but it's so nice meeting you.
It's been amazing, being able to just everyone too, but you like. It worked out in a weird way. I ended up like reaching out to like my favorite characters first. Like the first 3 are like some of my favorite characters in the whole game. So the past couple weeks have been absolutely amazing. And I thank you for taking the time out of your day, and you've made my day, and I'm sure everyone else will lose their mind when they see this, because they don't know I'm doing this.
That's
very few people know that I'm doing this little interview series.
Well, props to you for pulling it all together and doing the legwork of keeping this thing alive, right? Because it's the players. You're the protagonist of the story, right? We're it's us. We're just helping you along the journey. But in MagiQuest, it's only alive because you're keeping it alive. So props to you. It's been really fun to go down the memory lane with you, and love seeing all the content you pull together.
Well, thank you. It means a lot. Coming from you,
absolutely you're doing the work. It's great. Best of luck with the new projects. All right, man. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too, Brett. Thank you once again.
Have a good one.
You too. See ya.
Maybe you're as smart as they said you were. Or not.